It's always weird too how memories can be better than the reality. You know, I always remember that movie being so good, and then you watch it and you're like, that movie sucked. Why did I think it was good? No, it was better just remembering it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Live in Fantasyland, man. It's
like-
way better.
I know. Like you go back to some old restaurant or something. This was the best food in town, and you eat it again. It's like it got worse. It's like, nah, it's always been like that. It's
Yeah.
always sucked.
Or you're just like really hungry the first time you ever went there and just like made an impression in your mind. 'Cause you're like,
Yeah.
I was starving and, it's just filled me up. But yeah, that is true, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Won't just be a memory as this podcast because you
That's
can always
right.
come back and listen.
That's right. I remember that podcast being better than it was. Once I replayed it, it really sucked.
maybe we should be deleting these episodes.
Just keep them as memories.
Yeah.
So that's a lesson for the people listening. Listen to it once, have a good experience, and then never listen to it again.
Yes, please. Dude, maybe they could do like a Snapchat thing where you like,
It's erased.
yeah, after you listen to the podcast
A
once.
Snapchat podcast.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
Does Snapchat even allow you to record for like an hour?
I'm
Yeah,
sure you'd have to make your own thing,
Yeah,
but
have a special thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
so we'll dive from there.
Yeah. So anyway,
Into Episode 34.
that's right. 34. Here
Mhm.
we are.
Yeah.
So I think you should go first because I always go first.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
be on the spot. I knew this moment was coming.
Yeah. You knew that there would be initiation revenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
All right.
So I'm picking another kind of abstract one.
Okay.
I need to pick more concrete examples.
Okay.
I've been
Be inspired by like a rock or something.
a piece of concrete. I'm really inspired by concrete. No, I don't know. Like, I guess I don't need to do anything. It's our podcast, right? We
Yeah.
can
You just talk about whatever you want.
do whatever you want.
Like I'm inspired by my mirror.
Yeah. Get the big narcissist alert across the screen. No, so for me, I've been thinking about like, I guess maybe like improvement's not the right word. I want a catchy name for it, but one just doesn't come up.
Non-arrested development.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the idea of like, where does personal growth come from, I guess? It's like, what does that stem from? What are the obstacles to it? Where do people flourish the best? Like under what circumstances? And so that's kind of what I was going to explore, because I've been thinking a little bit about therapy and stuff like that, as far as like if I want to be a counselor, if I want to kind of help people in that realm. And so, because like my goal is pursuing that path, or if I did pursue that path, would be to help people. And so it's like, at what level of helping people does that fall under? Is it like, does everything maybe stem from like spiritual, like at the top, and then like mental and therapeutic at the secondary, and then maybe like physical, like giving somebody some money at the second, at the tertiary or whatnot. It's like, is there a hierarchy of helping people? It's like, obviously it's good to like offer assistance at all levels, but yeah, I don't know. So I guess I'll just ask you a few questions and then we can get the ball rolling on that. But like from you, have you noticed there's been like when you wanted to change things in your life or seen profound changes happen, was there maybe one of those things that kind of was more prevalent in your life at that time? Like, did you read a really good book about mindset and it like just changed everything for you? Were you praying a bunch and, it's like things just turned around for you then? Or did someone give you a gift or something and all of a sudden it's like...
Yeah, like what has provoked personal development for me? How did that occur?
Yeah.
I would say it occurs mostly in two different categories. Either the inception category, where it's like I read a book, I had a conversation, an idea was planted in my mind, and it's like I can never go back, you know? And so then I'm like slowly making changes, even just subconsciously, it's like, I want to change something a little bit, it's like my behaviors are almost like I can't even help it. I'm just like acting a little differently because of this idea, whatever it is.
You're almost like compelled or something.
I'm like compelled to do it, right? I'm mind controlled. And I'm going to break apart my father's company, whatever. And And then I would say the other one is like, I don't know how would I would just describe this. It's like I got kicked in the pants because I did something wrong,
Mm.
and now I have to change.
Hmm.
It's like, ah, man, that girlfriend broke up with me because I suck as a human. How can I not suck as much? I got fired from my job. Why did that happen? It's like
Yeah.
those kind of like life sucks in this moment thing, and what do I need to change so I don't make this mistake again? I would say those are like my two
Mm.
initiating factors
Is
for
there
like
one that's
personal
more
development.
effective or motivating, I guess?
I think it's better when I do the slow change. Like I think that that's the best case scenario.
Mm.
It's painless, it's exciting, it's more inspiring. It's like, man, I'm going to step into some fears and challenge myself. And like this is cool. And then it like you see some changes in life and you're like, man, I'm really happy about that, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that that is like the best case scenario, but
Mm.
realistically, you just don't always do those things that you know you need to do.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes there's things where it's like, that's a cool idea, but I don't want to do that. It's uncomfortable. It's inconvenient.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up early in the morning, whatever.
Do you think that's a case of maybe like you not believing it as much or something, or like,
Yeah.
like, because I mean, I've heard the idea, it's like what you believe is what you do kind of thing,
Mm.
and so it's like if you're not doing something, it's just because there's some sort of doubt or like holding you back, and I don't know. I've had this argument with my mom many a time, where
Mm.
it's like she's like, well, if you truly believe something, you'll just do it, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I feel like I could believe something, but not have the capacity to do it,
Mm.
but the older I get, I don't know. I can see both sides now.
I
And
mean,
so,
I feel like, I don't know, do I truly believe in something or not? Like, I don't know if it's always that I believe in the action or if
mhm.
it's just that I like believe in the consequences of not doing that action, or
Yeah.
if it's like, well, like I believe that if I eat sugar, it will lead to health problems, but
Hmm.
like I'm still eating sugar every once in a while.
Yeah.
I believe what the consequences are.
But you
It's
haven't
just
suffered the
like
consequences
I haven't
necessarily.
suffered the consequences. Like
Yeah.
if I had diabetes, it would be like I am suffering the
Yeah.
consequences. So now I really don't want to do this anymore.
It'd be much
It's
easier
like
not to.
it's not necessarily that I don't believe it. It's that it's like it's tangible for me now.
Yeah.
It's like I feel it. It's real.
Yeah.
When a girl is like, you don't listen to me very well, and I'm breaking up with you because you're not a good listener or empathetic. It's like, oh, I know that those are things I need to do, but like I don't really want to do those things. It's like I want to just ignore people, or it's like, oh, can't I? Why can't I just be rude? It's like it's like once you feel the consequences, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I guess I'll change my behavior. I mean, it's just like little kids. Like,
Yeah.
what makes little kids stop like hitting their sister or stealing out of the cookie jar? Because you spanked him on the butt, and it was painful. It's like that changed behavior, not being like, so the moral lesson
Yeah.
of like not having the cookies. It's like that's
In
great.
20 years, you'll regret taking the cookie from your sister. And
Yeah,
it's like, that's not going to work on a
like
kid.
that's so awesome if you can do this like nice talk and there can be like, okay, like now that I know, I can make decisions. That's so great. But like most little 3-year-olds
Yeah.
are just gonna be like, I hate you. Like they're not gonna do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you need some sort of something tangible to go along with like kind of the moral implication or the,
Yeah,
maybe the extra physical
yeah.
implication.
Which I think just on the idea of like inspiring personal development, I've heard it said in a lot of Instagram quotes that
Heard it said many ways, many times.
heard it said with
Merry
many background
Christmas.
photos of people doing yoga on mountains. Anyway, of how the people who have done the most inspiring, life-changing things are oftentimes people who've like suffered the most and lived really hard lives.
Yeah.
Like hardships make really great people.
Hmm.
So it's like, is that because they had that very visceral, tangible feeling of like the consequences, like they know that they need to work hard in life or else they like literally feel the consequences of it. Whereas a lot of other people just academically know it, but they never like felt the suffering of starvation or whatever the problem was,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's not quite a motivator like going hungry
Yeah.
to get you out there and working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like maybe if I did some horrible suffering, I would become a great person. So maybe I should like self-inflict suffering. No, don't listen to me. Don't do that.
I think the Bible says something about that, right?
Yeah, there's probably a thing that says don't do that.
It says trouble will come, but woe to those who make trouble or whatever.
Maybe.
I think
know.
I'm using that out of context,
Yeah.
but I'm using it very loosely.
Like, I definitely think it's valid to choose the hard path in the sake of like, don't just be lazy and always seek convenience, you know?
Yeah.
And like, there is good personal growth, but I don't think it's good to just seek suffering for the sake of suffering,
Yeah,
you know?
It'll
Like,
come.
Yeah.
Don't
Like,
you worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cheer up.
Like, it's good to challenge yourself.
right around the
but
corner for everybody.
Don't be like, I'm just going to punch myself just for the sake of it. Or, I don't know, whatever.
Well, it's funny because like I think a lot of times people will like avoid one form of suffering to like take on another form of suffering, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
Where it's like, I don't want to have the hard conversation with my relative or whatever, but I'll go and, you know, volunteer my time and suffer that way, you know, or I'll go, I'll, you know, give my friend a ride to the airport or whatever. I don't know what the thing is, but you know, it's like, because I do the right thing, I do the hard thing, you know, and it's like you haven't done the hard thing. That's like holding you back, or like, you know, kind of creating this block in your mind, I guess.
That is so true. Yeah.
So it's like easy to get distracted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. What are those hard, truthful conversations that it's like, this is the true hard thing that you're avoiding? I know that's me with editing my book right now. It's like I hate editing my book, and I will procrastinate with all kinds of productive things to do in order to not do that.
It's like, what do they call it? Toxic productivity, or yeah.
Yeah. Or distracting productivity. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
I know.
I know. So what keeps you from like, I mean, obviously there's the thing of it's boring, but you know, is it like, does it go beyond just boringness? Is it like there's some
with editing the book?
Yeah.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Because like for me, like a lot of times, like I'll stop a project because I'm like afraid that once I do it, I won't know the next step, you know? So it's like by holding on to this process, I don't have to put myself into the unknown of being like in a new phase or whatever.
No, I think editing the book makes me feel like a failure. Because when you edit, it's like I'm fixing all of my mistakes, and it's just a complete reflection of all the things you did wrong.
Jeez,
and like a horrible criticism that was like, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. So like I could totally edit somebody else's book. I could be like, hey, your book sucks, let me fix it for you. And I could have like no emotional attachment, do a great job. I could very efficiently edit somebody else's book. But in my own book, it's like, I worked so hard on this section. Oh,
it's pretty much flawless.
I have to delete it.
Yeah.
I have to completely rewrite it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my life sucks right now. Like, why am I such a terrible writer? You know, it just
But
makes you feel like
right the first time.
It just makes you feel like crap when you edit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that emotional, like I'm a failure, really hard to like not beat yourself up. So it's like I can only edit for so long, and then it's like, all right, I spent 20 minutes editing. Now I'm depressed. I need to go recover from this like emotional like roller coaster here.
Yeah.
You know,
that's true.
I had 3 typos. Nervous breakdown.
What is my life? That's where you need ChatGPT, dude.
Yeah.
Can you be a little more friendly when it's editing? It's like, sure.
This is 99.9% awesome. And even this one mistake is still great, but you're going to fix it because you're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, get it to fix it all for you and wrap it up in a neat little bow. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair.
So yeah, editing is a process of personal development.
Yeah, no, and that's
definitely
kind of
of suffering.
Yeah. And one of the things that I was actually going to even tie into, you know, is the idea of kind of reflection in the journey of personal growth. It's like, you know, those times to stop and, you know, just not even try to like fix something, but just like analyze it and see why it's happening. I was talking to my dad and listening to a monk the other day, Orthodox monk, but you know, they like both, or that thing came up in both those conversations, you know, where it was like, you know, just noticing the pattern is enough to stop the pattern a lot of the times, like a negative pattern that you don't want there. And it's like, how does that work? It's super mysterious, you know, but like the more times you can just bring light to it, and it's like the truth will set you free kind of stuff. You know, it's like the more times you can do that, the less power, I guess, those things have over you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for me, it's always been like, and kind of tying back into the belief, do you truly believe something if you're still doing it?
Mm.
And then even feeling the immediate consequences. It's like, I've always kind of gone the same way with like sugar too. It's like, like on occasion I'll still eat sugar, but it's like each time I do it, it like lessens the hold on me a little bit. Cause it's like, I'm like, I try to be as cognizant as possible of like, how am I feeling, in the minutes and the hours after this, it's like, okay, like I can tangibly feel worse. All right. Like I'm not going to beat myself up that I ate that and made myself feel worse, but I am going to notice that I did feel worse. And then each time I go, like, it's almost like rewiring to like, light up these two different parts of the brain to like make correlation, between these two things of like feel bad, sugar, whatever, ice cream or whatever. And so it's like when you even looking in the aisle at the ice cream, it's like these two lights are now, correlated and blinking. It's like, okay, I'm already feeling bad just looking at the ice cream, like feeling physically ill looking at the ice cream.
Okay, this is actually a really interesting thing to bring up because sugar is used as a reward system for children in developmental years for personal development. You didn't hit your sister, you did all your chores, did all the mature, like healthy human being things to do, you get sugar. So we have like such weird reward systems. It's like we're going to reward you with something that's like sort of bad and not helpful for you because you like did good emotionally mature things as like a human being.
Weird.
So it's like a weird
we'll give you your drug of choice if you
it's like behave really well and you get to basically like do unhealthy habits.
That is so weird.
So it's like then it mixes up this whole system where people, if they do like an immature thing, they like make a mistake in life, they feel bad about themselves, whatever, then it's like, do they still get that reward system? Do they overindulge in the reward system? They, and I think then it creates this like sort of binge eating thing that creates people having all these unhealthy
like shame and
diseases and shame, and it goes in a cycle.
Because it's like you kind of win both ways, because if you lose and you beat yourself up, you're like, I'm worthless, my body's not worth taking care of, and I go binge sugar, and then it's like if you do something well, you're like, ooh, I deserve a treat, and then you go get the sugar on the other end.
I mean, just because I train people at a gym and around people in the wellness world all the time, it is like so classic that people say, dude, I had a good workout today. I worked hard. I'm going to go home and eat a donut after this. And it's like, why do you literally reward yourself with undoing your hard work after you did the hard, it's like that doesn't connect very well, So we have weird, just on that conversation.
Too,
everybody does, I think it's just like a cultural thing that everyone's sort of raised with. And we've basically incentivized this reward system of unhealthy habits. And it's like, how can you, like what you're saying, switch the paradigm? So it's like, when I eat sugar, how do I make that a punishment that it's like, I don't want to be eating sugar. Like I have like a negative feeling to this. And I switch the reward system to be like, ate salad, reward. I like that. I get,
Well, and I don't even think it's like necessarily hacking your brain to try to like say like something bad is now good for you. It's like literally just acknowledging truth. It's like, this thing will make me feel worse if I'm in tune enough and like paying attention enough, like to notice. And that, I've kind of kept my body in good shape. Like if you've trashed your body, you won't really notice if you smoke that other cigarette or whatever. It's like you've already done the damage. You have to kind of reverse that. But so it's not like even tricking your brain into being like, oh man, like, ice cream is bad. Like I feel great eating it and I love it, but it's bad. It's bad, because that's like a false thing, I think, whereas if you like, and obviously everyone's different with different body types and they can handle different things, but like some food is just quality and objectively not good. But, it's like, so I think then at that point, it's more about just acknowledging truth, and just being like, okay, like this thing is not good. Here's how it affected me. I'm not going to try to like, cover it either way, like saying it's a good thing when it's not good for me, or saying it's like, the worst thing ever. It's just, what does it do to me? Like, that's what I want to tie into. And that's what I want to draw the connection with. It's like, how does it make me feel? How does it make me operate? When I get that like sugar buzz, is that like something is that a state I want to be in, cause I hadn't eaten sugar for like, I don't know, a couple weeks before this. And I had like, just like a lemonade and man, I literally felt like a buzz.
Yeah.
And it was just like I could hear like a ringing almost in my head.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa. And it's like that's probably always there, but like I think a lot of times people just, if you're indulgent in that lifestyle,
You're used to it.
yeah, you're just used to like being at a higher level or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm literally high right now from drinking a lemonade.
Yeah. Maybe there was something else in that lemonade. I don't know.
They didn't card me
Did
for
my
it. so-
parents make it, or
No.
who made
That's
it?
funny. Pilgrims.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So they didn't card me for it. So I'm pretty sure it's just sugar. I checked the ingredients too.
A little THC in here. There's a little. Who knows, man?
Reishi mushrooms.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Those are fine.
Oh man.
But
That's funny.
yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, paying attention and
Yeah.
I think is a critical part in growth.
Yeah, no. So yeah, that's an interesting concept to bring up. Yeah, the food association with personal development, the reward systems with that. The idea that like people. So it's like people could either change because they get more information, because they have like a interesting reward system, however that is, or like I was talking about, there's like a pain system. The like people don't change until the pain of the problem is greater than the pain of change. It's like that kind of thing.
And some
Yeah.
people that doesn't even work.
Yeah, so I feel like that always works for me.
Really?
Well, but I think the other thing is that sometimes the pain doesn't begin until the problem is too late. Like you've had alcohol for years, and by the time you have liver cancer, it's like, well, it's too late now. Like you can't just like give up alcohol now that you have liver cancer. Like that's a massive health issue. It's like high mortality. So
and it's like people have the assumption that like, well, if I give it up now, I'm just more miserable and I'm gonna die anyway. So.
yeah, so it's sometimes the pain of the problem doesn't occur until it's too late to fix it.
Interesting.
So then it's like you need to have information, and then if information is not helping you, how do you like recreate a reward system that like rewards you to have good behavior?
Yeah, because it's like you're talking about like incentives here, and it's like if people don't see an incentive, if they're like too far gone,
Yeah.
Okay, so here's an interesting question. Do you feel like there's ever a point where people are too far gone with their health, or is it always worth it to make the effort, in your opinion?
No, it's not always worth it, because I mean, if people are like terminally ill, where they've got like a few more months to live, and there's absolutely nothing you can do, you're just relieving them of symptoms, then basically they're on painkillers or some kind of drug that's going to make them feel better. They're probably going to go into, some kind of special care end of life home. They're just receiving palliative care. At that point, it's like have whiskey and cigars and bacon and whatever you want to do, because, it doesn't really matter at this point.
Interesting.
So, there's definitely situations where you're too far gone and like we can't help you anymore,
Yeah, because I see it more as like as just a respecting yourself decision, because it's like for me, I think, I don't know, I see a lot of people, and it's like I think the end goal is to be comfortable and happy, and it's like if that is your end goal, then like medicating through medication or alcohol or whatever does seem like the right option, because it's like if it's just not about feeling bad, it's like all those things are trying to cover the symptom of feeling, or the symptom of feeling bad, it's like whether it be mentally, spiritually, or physically, it's like medication, alcohol, and avoidance tries to cover all those things. So yeah, for me, it's like, I guess when I see people really taking charge of their life, it's like they don't avoid the pain. They kind of not embrace it. Well, maybe embrace it to some extent, but at least own it, and then take even the smallest step towards trying to honestly even do the right thing, but just be more present, I guess, or something like.
But do you feel like that still applies even if somebody's like terminally ill?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So even if somebody's like they got cancer, they're gonna die in like 3 months.
Yeah.
Still do all the things to be like a healthy human being.
I think so. Yeah. Because it's more about just honoring yourself. It's like it's the action more than the result. In my mind, and so it's like if you can do anything to like show that you're trying, I guess, in some sense of like making the effort to honor your body and make good choices regardless of the result, then I think that's where like it gets honored. And so,
but I mean, okay, so it's this idea that like you want to honor your body. Okay. But I mean, is that like a religious thing, like you need to honor your body because God wants you to? Is it honoring your body for your own sake, like your own personal dignity in some way? Is it for people around you? You know, like, all the above, you feel like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely come at it from a spiritual angle. So it's definitely a spiritual thing. And, you know, like kind of the principles of, I mean, you can get into, again, because if you're more like materialist, it's like, well, I guess everybody has their own approach to the argument. Whether you're materialist, you could say like you're trying to carry on your genes, but I guess at that point, if you don't have any genes to carry on because you're terminal and all that kind of stuff, there's like really no point in taking care of your body. So do whatever. And then, you know, but yeah, if you do believe that you're like created in the image of God, I think like you kind of have at least, I don't know if it's necessarily a responsibility, but I think you would just want to, you know, kind of like make the best, you know, carry out your life in the best way possible, you know, on all fronts. And so, yeah. And I think a lot of times it's not that people are doing it like, you know, I think a lot of times people are just kind of ignorant because, again, like the system we live in, and, you know, it's like very much incentivized to reward with sugar, you know, like the thing that's not good for you, or, you know, a lot of the incentives are set up in such a way that, you know, you're just taught from a young age not to do the healthy thing for yourself. And so it's kind of like breaking out of that.
Yeah. So it's like at the end of Braveheart when Mel Gibson was like, I'm not going to take the painkiller drugs. And then he's like, for freedom. And they chop off his head. You're like, I got to stay true to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's not about the result, you know, it's like take what you can handle, make the small gesture. You know, it doesn't need to be like, don't give me another painkiller, but maybe it's like, you know, maybe it's saying no to one extra drug they try to push on you or something, you know, end of life, or just, you know, whatever the small thing is. I don't know. Like,
you know, it's there was a book that I was reading called Being Mortal that was talking about the end of life scenario, and you know, you have to decide what quality of life is worth having.
Yeah.
Because if your illness is causing you to have such a horrible quality of life that it's like you can't function with the people around you, you can't enjoy your life anymore, then it's like, okay, do you need to continue trying to keep yourself alive? Like, maybe this isn't worth living anymore. You know, that's the question that they're trying to make you ask, you know?
Yeah.
And then you also have to ask the question of like, what if the medication that you're getting on is so ruining your quality of life that it's not even worth it to be on that medication anymore.
Make it literally like change who you are as a person.
Yeah, because medications could cause so many side effects. It changes your personality. Maybe it makes it so you're not really conscious of what's around you. You're so doped up you can't even interact with people anymore. That's usually the deciding factor for people in chronic pain, is like, how much interaction can I have with people around me?
Yeah.
Like, people actually will endure a lot of suffering as long as they can still have like a coherent conversation with their loved ones.
That's powerful.
Then that's usually what really matters to people.
Wow.
So once people lose that connection with other people, a lot of times that's a big deciding factor of like, well, the relationship is gone, so the person is gone, you know, like like I'm not a real person if I can't like connect with other people. That's how a lot of people feel. Yeah. So then it's like, okay, either the disease or the medication that's keeping me alive, one of these things like has to go so I can like be a real person with the people I know, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a very big decision in play for people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we could keep exploring this endlessly, but
yeah, I know. Yeah. So personal development, suffering.
We went from life to death, childhood to death.
Yeah. For those crying at home, I hope that this suffering has allowed you to develop as a person more.
Don't run from it. Just embrace it, or at least face it.
Face it. Yeah. Face your fears.
Don't eat ice cream because you're afraid of death.
That's right. So anyway, yeah.
So do you have a really positive and uplifting, inspiring thing, Brandon?
One, I'm already thinking of ways to connect these two things together. But nice. I was kind of just going to like keep rolling on your Greek mythology thing that you were talking about, because I was like, yeah, you know, Greece, they are awesome. And I decided, okay, I'm going to hone in on one aspect of Greece that I really like. and just thinking of things that are inspiring to me, it was like the Olympics, you know? And I'm particularly want to talk about the ancient Greek Olympics, not the modern day Olympics that has become very politicized and weird drug things. And who knows what Russia's doing. They're injecting things in their athletes. Anyway, but, you know, the ancient Greek Olympics, I mean, you know, just thinking again of people doing stuff that it's like, oh man, it makes me want to cry seeing those people like accomplish something. It's so cool. And when I think of how the Olympics started, it was way back in Olympia, Greece, back in, I think, 776 BC, I think.
We got a guy doing his research over here.
Yeah, maybe I read Wikipedia before I showed up. But it actually went on for like, I think about 400 years. I think it went on from like 770 BC to about like 380 or 90 BC. It went on for like hundreds of years, every 4 years in Olympia. And it started as being like just one day of athleticism, and it was just running. And I think what they started with was just running what they called the stade. The stade, and it's like STADE, which is where we get our word stadium from. Yeah. And it was like 210 meters or something like that. And that's like, you know, that was their length of measurement and whatever. And it was like you just like dash across this as fast as you can. Whoever crosses the finish line, it was like they won the Olympics, you know.
Just let loose the like, crowds. Cool. Like, all right, go trample like, each other.
Okay, mob. Like however many people are doing the thing here, you know. And then they slowly over the years were like, okay, let's do like throw a javelin. Let's run like 2 stadia. Let's run like 4 stadia. Let's do some wrestling, the pole vault.
Were they doing discus at that point?
They did. I don't know if it was disc. They did this thing.
Shot put.
Shot put. There you go. I think they did that. They got into like chariot racing at a certain point. Then they started combining it together. Then they were doing boxing, combative things, all kinds of stuff, you know?
Okay.
And then, of course...
Sounds like the precursor to the Colosseum.
Yeah, okay, well, so this is really interesting, is that the Greeks had this idea that, like, if you won the Olympics, you were, like, the elite human. Like, it's like a sign of dignity, and you're, like, a champion, and you're, like... the hero of the people if you win the Olympics, you know?
I see.
But the Romans had a different view. They were like to strip down and be almost naked, sweaty bodies out on the floor.
Pretty sure the Greeks did
and
that
everybody
too.
Well, but see, here's the thing is that the Romans looked at it as a sign that was not dignifying.
Okay.
The Greeks looked at it as like you are a champion, and the Romans looked at it as like you are a slave. So there was this totally, they basically did the same things, but the Romans were like, we Roman citizens would never go do that because we like kind of despise, those are like lesser people who are like trying to earn their like fame and glory.
Oh, I see.
And the Greeks were like, we're all sort of equal citizens, and who can now compete to be like the most awesome citizen? And we're like, we look at you like you are the super cool citizen, you know? So the Greeks like really prized those people, and they like wanted to be the athlete. Whereas the Romans were like, we're too clean to be athletes. Like athletes are for like lesser people to do that kind of like peasantry work thing, you know?
Yeah.
So there was kind of a weird aristocracy around that in the Roman world.
I see.
Yeah.
So probably, like less noblemen would compete in gladiatorial games than maybe more noblemen would compete in Greek Olympics.
I mean, the gladiators specifically was more like slaves and prisoners.
Yeah.
And then I think they did have other athletic competitions like the chariot racing, the Circus Maxim, I think it was. Maximus.
Yeah, Maximus.
And so they had some different stuff like that I think people would compete in, but I think it wasn't like a super elite kind of thing to go compete in that. Like
no senators were hopping on their chariot to go around.
I think that was pretty rare. I think that more commonly what would happen is that wealthy elite people would basically pay and like buy a chariot, and then they would like hire a horseman to like run.
Oh, sure.
And it would almost be like they like are the owners of a sports team today.
Yeah.
It'd be that kind of thing. Like, oh, that's this person's like chariot that they own, and that's like they're a racer that they hired. You know?
Don't see Mark Cuban playing basketball.
No, yeah. But I would say that there was a famous incident where Nero actually went into the circus and he raced around on the track. in a chariot race, and he totally fell off the chariot and completely disgraced
Oh
himself
my gosh.
and totally lost. And then at the end of it, he still declared himself the winner just because he was Caesar. And he was like, even though I totally fell off and I'm a loser, like I still won. I'm the winner of this thing. Which is like, dude, how much ego do you have that like you as the emperor just like fell off in a whole crowd of like thousands of people watching, and you're like, oh, I still won.
Well, you know, everyone's like so scared of him that they're gonna go home and be like, "Honey, who won the race today?" And it'll be like, Nero." You're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah,
It's like everyone's like this weird shared secret, like everyone knows.
yeah, like
but
what
no one can talk about it.
just those insane dictators who like can't let their ego be bruised, you know. It's just so ridiculous.
I could see Elon Musk doing something like that, like fights Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, and he's like, even if he like lost, he'd be like, "Yeah, I won that on Twitter or whatever." Mark Zuckerberg cheated or something. I don't know.
He used Russian trolls.
Yeah, it's a rigged jury.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
the Olympics,
Yeah.
you know, they did it for, I mean, hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the big athletic event. People
Yeah.
just talked about it. It was like the most famous thing that people would do in Greece.
Yeah, because it started with the guy who was
So-
a messenger, right? Like a runner.
Well, okay, so actually,
stuff.
no, that's where the marathon started,
Mm.
but I don't know, because I don't think that the marathon occurred until like 300 BC. I think it was later in the Olympic, because the Olympics actually started way back in like 770 BC,
Oh, interesting.
and I don't think the marathon occurred, because I believe that the marathon was a guy running. I can't remember,
city of
either-
Marathon
yeah,
or
it was
something,
like the
or
city
from
of
the city of
Marathon. It was
Marathon.
either from or to the city of Marathon. He
I
was
think it was
delivering
from, yeah.
news. I think it was like battle news
Yeah.
when the Persians invaded, and I don't think the Persians invaded until like 300 BC.
Okay.
It was a lot later. Yeah.
Huh.
Not only
Interesting.
that, but they didn't. If you look at like what events they had in the Olympics, they
Mhm.
didn't ever have the marathon as an event, and I think it's just because it literally hadn't occurred, so
Yeah.
nobody had invented it yet.
So
I'm
they were
sure
just
that it,
sprinting around then.
yeah, they were just doing like short distance sprinting, basically.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, stuff like that.
So was that in any way tied to their military, or was it more of like a?
Yeah, I think it was because they were such a good, strong military, and there were a lot of combatants from like Sparta, you know, the
Mm.
military city where a lot of people did it. And apparently in Sparta, they would hold their own separate games that was just for women, because women wanted to compete in it, but they wouldn't let women in the actual Olympics. But Sparta would do their own just female Olympics, apparently,
Interesting.
so that the women could do it, because they were like super into, you know, athletic women as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just imagining like a city of pure bodybuilders. Like, I don't even know.
It's like all those AI meme videos of Harry Potter and like
Yeah.
whatever.
Like, I'm just imagining that as like an entire like city of people.
Are you drinking your protein shake for breakfast, Billy?
I guess that's Venice Beach, and I guess we made a movie called 300 about that whole thing. Anyway, yeah,
You had your creatine for the day
yeah, that's right.
before you go to school. Yes, Dad.
What are you learning at school today? Push-ups. Good.
Decapitate someone with my bare hands.
Yes. Did you pray to the statue of Arnold today? Bless me with protein, Arnold.
Yeah. What year was Alexander the Great?
Oh gosh, I think that was maybe because they came after the Persians. That might have been like in around 200 BC. I'd have to look that up. I can't
Okay.
remember. That was after the Persians though.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there was Babylon with Nebuchadnezzar. Then there was Cyrus the Second, which was Persia, and then Darius.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
And then there was then there was Alexander the Great, and that was after the Persians, and then after him was the Romans.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and the Romans, I think they started taking over the world like in the 100 BC range, somewhere in that like
When,
not
like,
the first century, negative first century. I don't know, however that works.
time is confusing.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just put it all in one? I mean, I get why they did
Yeah.
it, but yeah.
Yeah. Because there was I don't know, was it the Gregorian calendar year? I can't remember. There was somebody at one point
Yeah,
who was like, it needs to be,
yeah.
what is it, Anno Divito or whatever, AD.
Yeah.
And whenever
Adonai,
they made
Domina? I don't know.
Domina,
I'm
something
gonna
like
just
that.
embarrass myself
It's,
here.
you know, it's like year one or year of the king or something
Year of the
like
Lord, I
that. Year of
think.
the Lord. Yeah, that's right. Year of
Yeah.
the Lord. Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, it makes sense. But
But anyway, so yeah, Olympics, I think that they're inspiring, and it's just inspiring, I think, seeing how an entire civilization for like 400 years basically celebrated the athletic achievement, and how people, I mean, they literally had professional athletes at that time. Like there were people who would just year round train for these events, just like we have today. You know, like it's literally like the same thing. And it was, these people were just celebrities of the whole country.
Okay.
And they would even like stop war, because like they would have little wars with other countries, or they'd have wars even within their own little country of little sort of regions and tribes and little fiefdoms and whatever.
Yeah.
And when the Olympics came around every 4 years, it was like, stop. We need to go watch it and compete, and like
stop killing all our best people.
Let's just pause for like a week or whatever. We'll come back and kill each other afterwards. You know, like they were like super serious about it, you know, which is wild. Apparently they even had a terminology for the passage of time, referring from one Olympic event to the next every 4 years, which they called the Olympiad. And it was like, oh yes, that was one Olympiad ago. That's like saying that was one time period of this Olympics to the last
chunk
one.
Of 4 years.
Chunk of 4 years, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, super interesting.
So like, was there just like a best of a best overall, or was it a best in each category, or was it like a best in...
I think it was a best in each category.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because there would always be like multiple champions for each like event, or like, you know, a champion for each event. And I think in the beginning they mostly just had the running events, and it was like one day of just like getting out there and running and a bunch of people competing. And I'm sure that they had different tiers.
Hamstrings.
Yeah, right. Apparently they would run, a lot of times they would run nude. So there was a lot of naked people running. So I'm sure that was attractive. I don't know if it was mostly men or ladies in the audience, or anyway. But I don't know how much those tickets were. Anyway, but yeah, so, and then later they added other events, and then they added more days for the multiple events. And then there was a day at the end that was like celebrate the champions, where they basically did a big feast, and they like crowned all the champions and gave them prizes and celebrated them and all these things like that, you know.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it became a bigger event as years went on.
Yeah. 400 years is a lot of years to evolve something.
I know. Like, you just think of how celebrated it is for us, and for, okay, so a little history on the modern Olympics.
Yeah. We
started it back in 1896, where there was a French guy whose name was Pierre something. I don't know, he's French, you know, his name's Pierre. And Pierre something. It was like Pierre Baron du something with a C. I can't remember. And
I don't know.
And he basically started chatting with different countries and being like, yo, let's bring back the Olympics, which is like, hey, that's awesome, great idea. And he originally said, I want it to start in Paris. But people were like, nah, dude, if you're going to do the Olympics, it has to be in Greece. So back in, and a bunch of countries got super stoked on it. And so then back in 96, that was the first modern day of the Olympics. We had it in, I think, Athens, Greece, and that was the first one. And then we've done it every 4 years since then.
Okay.
So a little over 100, like 128 years or however long it's been. You know,
were they still doing it like during World War II and all that? Because I know there was like the big controversy of like they had the Berlin Olympics or whatever, like right before World War II, I think.
Yeah. So let's see, because I don't know if we did the Olympics during World War I and World War II. Yeah, back in 1936, I believe, we did the Olympics in Berlin. And then, yeah, it was only 3 years later that then they had World War II starting.
Yeah.
So, and I do know that in the, I want to say it was the 1920 Olympics, they did not include Germany because everybody was super pissed off at them after World War I. And they were like, you can't come.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I know that there was that happening. But yeah, I don't know. Actually, I'd have to look that up.
Imagine being the center of two back-to-back world wars.
Yeah. It's pretty wild, man.
Yeah. You got to have some real like angst to like, I don't know. I mean, I understand all the political reasons and like why, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it is such an interesting, that's a whole nother thing to
like
talk about.
One country that makes up, you know, like just a fraction of the world's size and population to like, you know, set off multiple things.
Yeah, I know.
Something weird going on there, something fishy. But yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I think that it's inspiring. You know, when I watch the Olympics, or when I think about like the ancient Olympics, I just love the idea of people celebrating athleticism. I think there's something with athleticism that, you know, you could definitely have a conversation about it in terms of the personal development. Like, you have discipline, you're working hard, you are like refining yourself. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing. Like, this person worked super hard to create this like physical skill and capacity. And I think that's so cool. But I think there's another aspect of it where it's like all that physical talent is fleeting. And there's something about it that's like you're almost preserving the life that God like intended for people to have. Like, God made the human body to be this like amazing machine that's capable of doing like incredible feats of skill and talent and strength. And it's always depreciating. And like, in a perfect world where there was no fall or sin, like, we would still have those bodies that can like compete in the Olympics for our entire lives, you know? And so I think there's something that captures me as really beautiful, that it's like you're almost celebrating this like this like power of life that God gave the human body to have.
Yeah, like the potential or something that you can live up to, or
like, this is the potential God made us for, and we just only have it for a brief period of time because we live in a fallen world. But like, like in a perfect world, we should have had that, like forever, you know.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, people at the top of their game are like kind of wild with what can be achieved, or I know that, like, I mean, I think tons of people have been inspired by Olympians and just kind of pushing past what they thought was possible in their own life, or, you know, pushing past just obstacles or uncomfortableness or whatever. Because it's like, to do those things, you have to push past uncomfortableness like every single day, pretty much.
You're constantly waking up early, you're training all day, you're strengthening your diet. It's like an entire lifestyle from a young age, you know?
Yeah.
The swimming, the running.
Yeah, your parents are shaming you into it. You're you're less than your siblings if you don't compete. Yeah. You know, all those good things that motivate a person. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I don't know. It does seem like a lot of Olympians have like a chip on their shoulder.
There is kind of a weird thing. I think being an Olympian is almost like being a doctor, where it's like, I'm really insecure about my intelligence, so I'm going to prove to everybody that I can like be more successful to them. So I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Someone told like, Michael Phelps he swims like a beached whale one day or something, and he's just like, nah.
Like, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Somebody told Usain Bolt that he was slow.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm not, I'm fast. And now they're like, no, man, I was talking about math, bro.
Of course.
That was good. I'm going to sell that to a stand-up comedian.
Oh my gosh. What? Oh, that's good. Dang. Was that Ricky Bobby? I want to go fast.
Ricky Bobby? Yeah. I want to go fast.
So good.
Oh my gosh. All right. I think that's all I can say about the Olympics.
That's fair.
It's inspiring.
It's a great amount of stuff.
Just take it for what it is.
Yeah. Find your own inspiration in it.
Yeah. Go walk around the block.
Yeah, give yourself a gold medal afterwards.
That's right.
Beat your record time of 35 minutes.
I walk around the block and I give myself a gold medal of a candy bar wrapped in gold foil.
Got a golden ticket. All right. Yeah, let's wrap it up there before it devolves any further.
That's right. All right. Got to clean up my act here. All right, people. Thanks for listening.
Stay inspired.
That's right.
Live your best life.
Peace out.